Cheers, guys. Epix 911. Bit of a tough video, this one. YouTube's made it easier. Thank you, YouTube. A little bitter. Definitely emotional. But it's needed because you guys need an explanation. I'm not just going to drop off the earth. I'll say right up front, I'm not killing the channel. The channel's going to continue, but the formatting is going to be different. I put out a video yesterday, and in that video, I showed people the work that goes into creating a video. As PG as you can get, as politically correct as you can get, as advertiser friendly as you can get, and yet it was demonetized. I have about a 50-50 shot with any given daily news show of it getting demonetized. And here's the problem, guys. And I'm going to throw my cards on the table. I want to be honest with you guys. The problem is this is a result of political correctness allowed to run amok. Allowed the time and opportunity to complete what's nearing its final evolution. That's what we're witnessing here. This AI bot is ruthless. It's logical. And it pattern seeks in a way it doesn't discriminate. And that's about the only good thing I can say about it. The problem is, right now, the false positives that this thing throws up are absolutely out of control because it's based on keywords. But as content creators, we don't know what those triggers are. All we have to go by is YouTube's guidelines for monetization. And I assure you, I break no guidelines. No guidelines on monetization do I break. I don't cuss. I'm not a hate program. I'm not depressing. I might look depressing at times, but the content matter, other than the odd story that isn't as cheerful as we'd like. It's a company going out of business. It doesn't focus on tragedy. It's about an emerging industry called virtual reality. And yet, it's about a 50-50 chance I get flagged. The problem with that is, and it's unique to my content, a news show is relevant for just a short time. It has a really short shelf life. For example, I've got a video on how to make Dutch pancakes. That's an example of a video with a very long shelf life. People always need to eat. They always want to learn how to cook things that taste good. 3 years from now, there's still going to be people clicking on that video. 3 years from now, there's nobody, except maybe the most hardcore of hardcores, that will be clicking on the October 13th edition of VR News. So it has a shelf life, a core, where 90% of its monetization can be realized within the first, I would say, 48 to 72 hours. Up to 95%. 24 hours, the first, are the most important. 48, 72, and then it drops off completely. After that, you're probably talking about 5% of its lifetime potential. No matter how long you keep that on, you've realized 95% of what it's ever going to realize in those first 3-4 days. So when I get flagged right away, with their turnaround time being anywhere from a couple hours if you're lucky, it's never been that quick. The quickest I've seen for me is about 4 days, which you can see with 50-50 each video, 4 days to a week, they've already killed off 95% of its potential. So what if they reinstate it after that point? They may as well leave it flagged, demonetized, because it's never going to realize what it's lost. And the amount of time I put into each of the videos, if you've seen the video, which, like I said, ironically enough, got flagged itself, you'll see the work that gets put into these daily news videos. It's 3 to 8 hours per day. In addition to a full-time job, parental, familial, friend, all those other responsibilities that people have. And that's by my own design and my own choice. Absolutely. But when they sent out this AI bot, when they knee-jerked to political correctness, they made that choice much easier for me. So what I'm going to do moving forward, guys, is I'm killing the daily news show. I can't keep putting blood, sweat, and tears into something that grows as slowly as it does and is now about a 50-50 shot of realizing anything. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to you guys, because you get a half-arsed version of me that's not enthusiastic, that is not excited about news delivery because I'd just been deflagged 30 hours of work in the past week, right? So what I am going to do, guys, is go to weekly content. I'm going to continue with virtual reality A to Z. I'm going to do a weekly news show like Facepalm, who's another YouTube VR news guy who, probably gets as much views in his once a week show as I get in about 3 days worth of news shows. So it's not a huge killer. It still gives you that format. But with that said, I totally understand if that's not okay with you and you want to leave or you don't want to watch or you want to unsubscribe. Absolutely. You're here for a reason. And when that reason's no longer there, moving on is an absolute choice, right? But I do assure you, in its place is going to be content that has shelf life. So the weekly news show, no, probably not. It's going to be good a little longer than the daily news show. It'll probably be good for about a week, I'd figure, which is kind of funny because it's dealing with the same week worth of news, but that's how these things work. And then the topical stuff that has longer shelf life is what I'm going to be focusing on. So I'm going to take topics and just deal with those and see what happens. I'm also going to do another channel where I deal with historical stuff, which is another passion of mine. And I got some ideas of bringing some fun to that. So 1 or 2 shows per week, 2 maximum on this channel, and possibly another one somewhere else. Kind of like if you've ever seen Fraser Cain or Curious Droid or Arthur Isaacs. Those guys do topical weekly shows. That's kind of what I want to do, that kind of format. So I'll still be doing VR. I'll still be doing VR news, but no longer doing a daily news show. It's just, guys, and like, okay, I said cards are on the table. $400 to $500 is what I would do on a good month. And that's gone to basically making nothing, because if you don't hit a certain threshold, which is $100 within a month, you get none of that. So it's just not worth putting in all that time and energy for a format that's not realizing growth. And 15 months for 5,800 subs is good. 2,000 to 2,500 views still a year later per show, not good. Not worth the effort put into it. So that's basically it, guys. It sucks. But YouTube right now, like I said, they have literally allowed political correctness to rule the day. And I'm not about hurting people's feelings. That's nonsense, right? I'm sensitive to people. But when it goes out of control, when it's that monitored, when people say stuff on social media that they don't mean just to appear like they're towing the line, that's when you've gone way, way, way too far. And there's that quote, I may not agree with what you're saying, but I defend your right to say it. Absolutely. Are there lines drawn in the sand? Yeah, we all have those. But a merciless AI bot that runs amok, deflagging because you used a keyword that it interpreted out of context, that's ridiculous. And unfortunately, it means what remains is going to be a much cleaner, sanitized version of YouTube. The other thought I had was looking back, what could I change? There's honestly nothing I can think of. When you can't think of what to change, and it's still a 50-50 chance of getting your video demonetized, you know you're at that point where you got to throw up the white flag. So guys, if you were a recent Patreon person, it hasn't been a month yet, you can retract that, because I believe it's got to be 30 days. I'm going to leave it open because I'm still going to make content. And if anything, I think the weekly stuff might even be better. But I totally understand if you're here for a daily news show that I am no longer delivering and you don't want to support that. Fair enough. Absolutely. So yeah, there you go, guys. Appreciate your support over these last couple of years. I'm going to continue to make content, but I'm going to have to follow, the rules to a point, and that is weekly content and content that has a longer shelf life. So if it does get demonetized, you can still realize something from that. Other than, of course, people viewing it, enjoying it, learning from stuff, etc. That goes without saying. All right, guys. Still have a fantastic game on Friday, though, eh? And we will catch you for the next video. Cheers.